Hello plant friends, hope you guys are all doing well and staying happy. In this episode we are going to talk about wet sticks and nodes. Am I against buying wet sticks and nodes? Am I against selling wet sticks and nodes? I think nowadays, no. I would say, you asked me a few years back, I would say that would be a poor practice. Nowadays, I think that with the plant prices the way they are, it's hard to blame people for selling them, and it's hard to blame people for buying them. So I personally don't have a big thing against them anymore. But I do think that there are certain ethical issues surrounding the practice of buying and selling nodes that I would like to expand upon. Just off the bat, let's talk about what a wet stick is. A wet stick normally is a piece of stem with one or two nodes. Nodes are these like nodular indentations on your stem that has a potential to grow new leaves and new roots. In fact, without a node, you can't have new roots and new leaves. Not diving too much into my personal opinion, I think there are two concepts that I sort of would want to talk about so you guys can be mindful of when we're talking about wet sticks and nodes. So the first one is what we call in medicine informed consent. Public, I think we kind of use the term transparency. Informed consent implies that before we do any therapy or procedure, the person that is consenting or allowing or agreeing to that therapy procedure is thoroughly informed, right? That means they know about the risks, they know about the benefits, they know about the possible harm, they know about the side effects, right? They are thoroughly informed. The public sort of knows this as being transparent, right? Like when you're buying or selling something, you want transparency, right? You kind of want to know what you're getting yourself into. Do we have informed consent with nodes and wet sticks? Do we have true transparency? I don't necessarily think we do, but I'll leave that thought process to you guys. But this does lead me to the second concept I want to talk about, publication bias. Okay, so publication bias, you probably get this, you probably understand this from a news perspective as well, is that the things that get into the news, the things that get published, the things that people see in print, on paper, those are usually sensational, right? Like, herd of elephants rampage through New York City, right? That would make the front page, right? But like herd of elephants, rampage through the Sahara, not as spectacular, right? Not as sensational. So that probably won't make the news. If you look on Facebook forums, if you basically any of your chats, social media forums, right, you'll see people posting pictures and success stories of, like, oh, I bought this tiny node or wet stick and now it's this ginormous tree or something, right? And they make it look so easy, and it's very deceptive, I feel. Not them specifically, but I think taking as a whole, you see so many success stories posted on Instagram, on Facebook, and you rarely ever hear about the not successful stories, right? The not successful stories are like ugly leaves on Instagram, right? Usually people don't take pictures of their ugly leaves or their ugly plants, right? All you see on Instagram are these like gorgeous, perfect leaves, these super clean plant setups, right? You don't see the mess, you don't see the work behind it, you don't see the dead plants, the dead leaves, you don't see the bugs, right? Unless they're promoting insecticides or something, right? So that's sort of what I mean about this publication bias in regards to wet sticks and nodes, is that I feel like there's this perception out there that it's easier than it is. I'm not saying that the process itself is ridiculously hard or ridiculously easy. Some people get it and they are very successful. Other people, they just don't get it, or they just, it doesn't work for them. So there's so much variability there, and even among experts, right? Even among people who do a lot of propagation, it's not 100% successful. They have dying nodes as well. So I just feel that it's just not publicized how sort of risky the procedure is, and because of this publication bias, I feel that the public is generally not completely well informed about the risks that they're taking when they are buying wet sticks and nodes. I think the one thing I got to mention that really bugs me is that when people who are successful with propagating wet sticks and nodes, they bash other people who aren't, as you know, as if like, oh, if you can propagate successfully, you're a good plant parent, and if you can't, you're not good. I feel like that is a very extreme and mean stance to take. I just don't think that that's really warranted. I think there's a lot of chance. There's a lot of there's a lot of technique and skill that increases probability of success. But yeah, I that's this elitism for people who are good at nodes and cuttings and propagating. It's yeah. If you guys see it or are on the receiving end of it, don't stand for it. And if you guys are doing it, I hope you guys aren't. But I hope you guys realize that it's mean. The other thing that I want people to be at least aware of in terms of buying wet sticks and nodes is that it's extremely hard to hold the seller accountable. I feel like this is one of the few instances when you're talking about buying and selling plants where the seller really holds very limited accountability, right? Like if your node does well, great. If your node just dies and rots, and it's unless the node that you get is very different from the picture of the node that you thought you were getting, I think that it's very hard to hold the seller accountable. So, should you be buying nodes? I think that nodes and wet sticks are a very good option for people with more experience. The few tips I have: one, don't ask your seller for tips. I have this thing where I feel like there's an inherent bias where the seller will obviously make it seem like it's very easy, right? It's super easy. My question, or the thing that's lingering in the back of my mind, is like, well, why don't they just do it, right? Like if it's so easy, they can just do the nodes themselves, root it in a couple months or so. They can sell it for much more money than nodes, right? Nodes are the cheapest you go. If it's rooted, if there's a leaf coming out, you can sell it for much more money. So why don't they do it themselves if they think it's so easy, right? Yes, you may have experienced sellers. It may be very easy for them and they just don't have the time or space, or they have other things, or they're in financial difficulty or whatever. But my general advice is like, don't ask. I just don't ask the seller if what I should do with a node. Ask your friends, ask people you trust, ask people with more experience. And also, like, when you're buying the node, ask your friends, right? Ask your friends, like, is this a node that you would buy? Is this a node that you think is a good purchase for the price or for the risk? I'm going to do an episode after this where I go shopping on Facebook, look up some pictures of nodes that were on sale, and give you my thoughts about them, whether or not I would buy them, whether or not I think it's a good opportunity or a shady deal. So hopefully look out for that episode. I'll try to link it somewhere. The other thing I want to say is that whenever you're buying nodes, whenever you're buying wet sticks and cuttings, you have to be prepared for some losses, right? Like I think if you ask anyone, no matter how experienced they are, and you ask them like, do they have 100% success rate with nodes or cuttings, they'll tell you no. I think that honestly, it's you cannot get 100% success rate. There are going to be some casualties, and the more experience you have, and the more experience you get to, that percentage will go down. But just always know that there's sort of a risk involved. All right, guys, I think that's going to be it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did and you want to support the channel, plant t-shirt if you want a plant t-shirt. Right, like, subscribe. Okay, Till next time, happy planting.